Great, thank you for joining us. So just to set the scene for everyone, today we've got Yacine Terki, who's the CEO and co-founder of Data Impact. We've got Salim Bachatene, who's the Vice President of Sales at Data Impact. So Yacine has over 15 years of experience in helping CPG companies to define their strategy and optimize their execution by leveraging data. He started Data Impact up about 7 years ago and works closely with CPG manufacturers to enable them to optimize their omnichannel penetration using his expertise in combining specific market needs with data and AI today. Sam has recently joined Data Impact. He's been there for almost a year now, and he also helps the clients to make strategic decisions and optimize execution based on their e-store data. So today we're going to be hearing a little bit about the projected impact of omnichannel development on e-commerce in Canada, and we're going to be hearing some insights from Canada's neighbor in the US and some key takeaways from there. So over to you, Yacine and Salim.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. And for the French-speaking Canadians, bonjour. Yeah, today, so just before we start, maybe just a quick one on the chat box. So please use the chat box to ask questions. We'll address them at the end of the session. That would be interesting. So yeah, just before we start, and I don't know, Yacine, if you're sharing your screen, but you know, before we start, I just wanted to kind of introduce quickly Data Impact for those who don't know us yet. So we're a leading omnichannel analytics platform for FMCG brands, and we help hundreds of companies in 40 countries, including Canada. And yeah, so over to you now, Yacine, while I'm trying to fix my camera.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. So yes, very quickly, just to present Data Impact. Data Impact is a leading omnichannel analytics platform, and we are operating in 40 countries. So yes, so before deep diving on the Canadian and the US market, we wanted to speak a little bit about the context to set the scene. So clearly what we have seen on the CPG industry during the last year is a shift of the shopper from single channel to omnichannel. And clearly the ecosystem is becoming more and more complex, and the shopper is at the center of this ecosystem. We wanted also to analyze the impact of the COVID crisis on this, on the shoppers and their habits. So clearly, before the COVID, the shopper was already an omnichannel shopper. So these figures are only on the CPG industry, and we can see that before the COVID, 53% of the shoppers were omnichannel, and now it's 66%. So it's increasing a lot. It's 2/3 shoppers that are omni-shopper. Another interesting figure is the fact that before the COVID, the shoppers that were shopping regularly online represented 9%, and this 9% increased to 44%. It means that clearly the e-commerce and omnichannel is attracting more shoppers, and they are shopping more regularly. Now, we spoke about this complex ecosystem. Clearly, today, the shopper can select a channel. They can purchase or using pure players, click and collect, delivery from store, third parties like Instacart, rapid delivery like Uber Eats. They have the choice, and generally, they shift from one channel to the other. The interesting thing here is that the major part of these channels are linked to the store. The baskets are fulfilled in the store at the end of the day, and that's why we think we can see today that the store is playing a very important role in the development of the e-commerce and the omnichannel, and we think that it will continue in the future for many reasons, because the shopper find it convenient, but also because it's a key asset of the retailers, and they are leveraging this in their war versus pure players. Salim? I think we lost Salim. So Salim?
Yes.
Yeah, it's...
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, what we wanted to cover here is basically some of the what we call the common belief that some people would have about the Canadian market. So first common belief that we see a lot is the weight of the online grocery is low in Canada. And we think that this is relatively wrong. So first of all, of course, before the pandemic, there were 10% of the Canadians shopping and buying products online. But what happened during the crisis and post-crisis is that that number shifted and grew very quickly to 37% of all Canadians that are shopping more online. So which means that the weight of online grocery for some categories is growing. It grew for some categories from 1.5% to 5%. And which means also, I think there's a concept here about how durable is this growth. And I think the way to answer to this is with this number, around 22% of all Canadian will continue basically to shop online. So let's think about the landscape, right? And there is a second common belief there. When we talk about the landscape and the players, most people will have in their minds the idea that Amazon is the major player. So I just want to get things right here before explaining the content. Is it's so the opposition is not between delivery and click and collect or pick up. It's between two different models. So there is a model which is store-based, and Yacine explained a bit around everything growing around the store-based, and there is a model around warehouse-based. So Amazon would be warehouse-based, and the others would more be around store-based. So just to explain here, what we see is the two major players that accumulates almost half of the market shares are what we call omnichannel players. And they're dominating the landscape of grocery e-commerce. And I think this is an idea that is important for everybody to remember while we go through more examples in this presentation. So yeah, if we take another snapshot on Canada, and I think there is another common belief, which is the optimal e-commerce model is the warehouse-based model. There was something that was said this morning or earlier today from Ken Hatton from Bayer, who said that Loblaws managed to deliver 1 billion sales number through their click and collect in Canada with the pandemic. I think this aligns quite well with what I'm going to say here. So what we see is that the two biggest players are clearly articulating an omni-channel strategy. Trying to use their network of stores to deliver or as a pickup point for their shoppers, and clearly we see other models like Storebased, for example, where it's a mix between a pure kind of click and collect, and they're growing on that sense, but also they've been partnering with the likes of Ocado, which is a model that we know very well in the UK here. And also you see players like Metro growing in terms of what they're expecting, in terms of click and collect points. Probably they're going to look at the potential they have within their 300 stores in Canada, and they're probably going to take some decisions there.
Thank you, Salim. So now if we try to look at what is happening globally, so on this matrix, you have the growth of the store-based e-commerce and the penetration of the store-based e-commerce. What we can see is that globally in the US, in Australia, but also like the UK, the growth of the store-based e-commerce is very important and the penetration is very important. The reason is simple. Again, it's a key asset for the retailers and it's convenient for the shopper. So of course, the two models will coexist, and using the store-based doesn't mean that it will be only click and collect. It will be both click and collect and delivery. If we take the example of the UK market, 90% of the basket have been delivered from stores. When we speak about the UK market, we know, and it's known as a delivery market. It is a delivery market, but not from the warehouses, more from the stores. And it's very important because it will have a huge impact on assortment, promotion, prices, and everything. And we'll come back to some examples after. Now, if we deep dive on the US. So we have tried to put some figure on this slide. US is amazing. They came to the grocery e-commerce late, but they grow very quickly. They are going very high, and it's very, if I may say, they are very efficient. If you look at only these three historical retailers, first of all, in terms of growth. So if you look at the growth of the online e-commerce at Target, Kroger, and Walmart in Q2, it's huge. It's more than between 100 and 200%. Of course, it's driven by the pandemic, but not only. If now we look at the number of click and collect points or delivery from stores, it's also impressive. If we take only these three retailers, it's 7,000 stores. A few years ago, it was 400 stores. And what is also impressive is that if you add to that the other retailers and you add Instacart, you will end with 20 or 30,000 stores that propose delivery from store or click and collect. Now, if we zoom on, this figure is impressive. They have the growth of their pickup channel during Q2 was 700%. So clearly, what we have seen in the US and what we can still see, it's impressive. What are the impact on this growth? So if we try to analyze what happened, we have shifted from a model where we had one channel for each retailer with a few warehouses. It was kind of easier to monitor, to playground where on each retailer you have different channels like delivery with using third parties, delivery from store, delivery from warehouse, and you have 1,000 stores. And all this is bringing a lot of complexity in this market. Now, what are the impacts of the complexity? Hi, Salim.
Finally, through my mobile. Now people are disappointed with what Sarah said around my handsome face.
Don't be scared, Salim is not in charge of the tech part of the company. So sorry. Yes. So to come back to the impact of these, complexity. Clearly, this complexity is creating gaps between your negotiation at global, national level and your execution. And obviously, the gaps on your execution will impact directly your sales and your market shares. So what we have tried to do here is to take some use cases, and after we will share some analysis. It's use cases with our clients in the US. We have clusterized these use cases in three types: use cases around the distribution, around the visibility, and around the attractiveness and transformation. So on one interesting use case is around the out of stock. During the first phase, if I may say, of the COVID, we have seen an increase, a very quick and high increase of the out of stock online. We can guess why, but our clients were struggling to understand where they have problems and how they can act. And we will show you some examples, but we help them to identify where they have issues, on which product, on which stores, and to take action, leveraging their key account manager sometimes, but also sometimes their field sales force. On the visibility, one interesting use case is around the e-retail media. With the growth of the e-commerce, the major FMCGs are increasing their investment on the e-retail media. But the thing is that they're totally blind and they don't know if they are investing well and if their execution is good. And we will show you some example to optimize the execution. And finally, on the price, on the transformation, an interesting example is around the promotions and how the execution on the promotion can differ and could have negative impacts on different on your sales, but also your brand image. So we will illustrate all these example on the Canadian market. Again, do not hesitate to ask your question on the chat, and we will answer at the end of the session.
So yeah, thanks, Yacine. So what is there to be taken as an opportunity? And what kind of things CPG brands will do to shift, their way of thinking. So we think that it's around 3 topics, right? So the first one is around the organization. So the questions would be, do I have the right organization? Do I have the right skills within my teams? The second one is around the ways of working. Clearly, in growing omnichannel, the ways of working needs to be adapted, right? So do I have the right processes, and do I have the right conduits of insights and information within the business to make sure that we're tackling, and we're executing? And the last bit is around analytics. Do I have the right set of analytics to tackle an omnichannel market and to tackle omnichannel execution with omnichannel retailers, which I think is really important. So now in terms of organization, I think what we try to say here is the organization. So as it was, which is the legacy organization that we have from years, it was trying to tackle 2 distinct type of shoppers, the offline shopper and the online shopper. And the whole organization was built that way, to cover those two distinct shoppers. As we're merging, as this shopper is becoming one, and the numbers that Yacine was showing earlier in the presentation, that you have, more than 60% or more than 50% of the shoppers being omnichannel shoppers, the organizations needs to evolve. And there are aspirations for organizations that are fit for purpose. And what we try to do here is to give you some examples of what we've seen, through different conversations with clients. So there's an organization where you have a separate omnichannel team that serves the rest of the business, that injects this new culture. There's also other organizations that overlap the existing organizations that act like capability, try to help. And then there are also type of organization where it's a full shift through omnichannel, and the whole team is considered as an omnichannel team. So there isn't a preference. These are just types of organizations, and I think it differs, right? It differs depending on your own organization, how your business is organized, and there are probably many other types of effective organizations to tackle omnichannel.
Yes, and just to add on this, Salim, clearly all these, first of all, it's not exhaustive. All these organizations have pros and cons. Of course, it will depend on your strategy, on where you stand today. But I think the most important thing here will be the journey to the omnichannel organization, because doing it, moving from a totally offline organization to a full omnichannel organization is not possible. It's possible on slides, but not in your day-to-day business. So how we move and how we learn by doing, and we adapt the organization to the needs of the business.
Absolutely.
So now, if we come to the ways of working, so we think that in this channel playground, if you want to succeed, you will have to solve this omnichannel performance equation. This omnichannel performance equation is composed of 3 blocks: the distribution, the visibility, like the search, the e-retail media, and the transformation, including your content, your promotions. The right side of the equation is already managed by the e-commerce team. I'm sure you know it, and you're already working on it. The left side is generally managed by the offline teams. The issue is that generally we have silos, and we are not able, it's complex to make online and offline team work together. And the problem is that if you are not able to solve this, it will have great impact, and a huge impact, sorry, and it will be complex to impact your performance. And if we want to have complexity, the truth is that your distribution will have also an impact on your visibility and your transformation. So again, we will illustrate with example, but we think that it's key to be able to change the way we are working, to collaborate, to leverage the data, to work with the offline. Otherwise, it will be very complex to succeed in this omnichannel world.
Okay, so what about the tools then? If we, so clearly what we're trying to say here is it's very difficult to operate with omnichannel retailers using using pure player tools. So if we take the challenge from the needs perspective, so clearly there is an imperative need for robust location-based analytics, and that's from different perspective. First of all, to collaborate with the retailers or negotiate with the retailers. Clearly, having robust, exhaustive data would help to be confident and to go through to the point, right? So there's also nothing that can be done from monitoring perspective if it's based on a selection of stores or a sample of 1 or 2 stores. If you remember, we looked at Loblaws with more than 800 points, Walmart exceeding 200. A sample of few stores will just give a wrong monitoring of the performance, and the execution won't be possible because your execution will be limited to the stores that you were used to that sample. So this is why it's super important to have an adapted tool or tools to tackle this omnichannel, and to be able to have a category view that includes your competitors, and also to get actionable insights. So as a summary, in fact, it's just impossible in an omnichannel ecosystem to operate with pure player models. It's just different words. So that's what we wanted to kind of highlight.
Yeah, and just to come back to the previous slide, we spoke about a collaboration between the online and the offline. The first piece to initiate this collaboration is robust insights. None of your key account manager will accept to go in front of the retailer and discuss or negotiate based on the sample of stores, because clearly the data are wrong, and the basics is to be sure that we have robust vision that is actionable to start this and initiate this collaboration.
Absolutely. So what we did for this case is we tried to give some examples, right? So because that's the best way to kind of illustrate what we just said until now today. So what we did is an analysis on the chocolate category. Why chocolate? It's to take the context of Halloween, and we try to understand what's happening there. So what we did is a kind of category analysis. How we build that is we track the category size in terms of number of products in each store, except Amazon, where there isn't the concept of stores, and we build that into a national average. And what we can see here is that there are little movements between within the different retailers, but it's Amazon who made an interesting move, by building that category in size, in preparation for Halloween. And you can say that right after Halloween, the average number of products drops. So really interesting kind of category view here. So if we deep dive now in terms of different players, and we will take a look, at some SKUs. What we see here is when we compare the players, and you remember we talked about the category view, being able to see what's happening within your categories, we see that, in terms of average share of assortment, we see that Hershey's picked, 3 points during between week 37 and week 44, and that was to the detriment of other players as well as Lindt. And on the right side of the slide here, what we see is, so each bar represents the share of assortment of Hershey's within one store. So you can see, the list of stores appearing there, and in fact, what we see is that there's an urgency to act on the left side of the table, where the share of assortment is pretty small. Moving on and deep diving at SKU level. So what we see here, if we want to kind of deep dive, is while Lindt remained pretty stable in terms of number of products, we can see that Hershey's built up, that number of products to around 15, 16 products in preparation for Halloween, and then it went back to initial size. And we can see on the right side, an example of SKUs that were used, for this Halloween period from Hershey's. Moving on that very same SKU, and that gives also another example on how it differs. So this is the same product, between week 39 to week 44. What we can see is that week on week, there are different prices that apply depending on the stores. and that changes quite a lot actually if you think about it. So tackling this pricing, just this pricing KPI from a sample of stores will give you the wrong indication, and potentially you'll be taking the wrong decisions. So we did another example, and we picked that yesterday. These are two Loblaw stores. They are actually 12 minutes drive between each other. And in fact, when you take a look, it's really interesting because the same products, one of them is on promotion, the other one isn't. And actually they're showing the same price. So the challenge here for the shopper is there is a kind of promo effect, that is lost because the shopper is not seeing the product in a promo. And there's also a concept of destruction of price image. If potentially the price is going to go up back to $4.99, there's disappointment. So moving on into the visibility part, where we spotted a really interesting example. So this is a media banner. Yacine was talking about that, where basically it's a promo banner showing, buy one, get one free. When you click on it, you realize that the products that are under this promo, they're basically suffering from not high enough, I would say, numerical distribution, so not present in all the stores, and they're actually under huge out of stocks. So if we deep dive on that very same example, so as a shopper, I see the banner, it's a promo banner, I want to know more, I want to buy, I want to get one free. And if I go to the store, what I find out is that there isn't, so the products that are being shown on the banner are not present in the store. And in fact, on this specific brand, there are only 6 results for this brand, while on other stores, there are a lot more than that. So if we pick another
I'm going to have to stop you there because we're actually over by a couple of minutes now. We are meant to be starting our roundtables now, but if you both would like to have some closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. So clearly what you are trying to say is that the market is shifting to omnichannel because the shopper is shifting, and this will bring complexity and will have an impact on both your also the way you're monitoring your market. If you have any question, you can first join our roundtable and reach out if you want to discuss these topics. Thank you.
Thank you so much to both of you. Really sorry that we had to end it there, but our roundtables, we're going to slightly shift them now so that we can still utilize the full time. So we're trying to update this live as quick as possible on your Swapcard platform. But just so you know, the first session is now going to start at 2 p.m. So it will be from 2 to 2:15. That's Eastern time. And the second roundtable will be 2:15 to 2:30 p.m. So good luck, everyone. Enjoy your roundtables. And also a big thank you to Yacine and Salim at Data Impact. They are one of our key sponsors at today's event as well. So for any further conversations, any questions or follow-ups you may have, feel free to reach out to them at their virtual booths or by sending either of them some direct messages. So thanks again, both of you, and enjoy the roundtable.
Thank you very much, Sarah.
Thank you.